Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Meet the Candidates. Today, we have Mr. Michael Gregory sitting in front of us to go through this process. And this process is about voter education so that you can hear directly from the candidates that are running for office in this election cycle. You get to hear in their own words answers to 5 questions. And Michael, we're just going to jump right in and get started. Tell us a little bit about your background, your current profession, and your political affiliation.
Well, first, David, I'd be remiss if I didn't say thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you for getting the word out to the voters on the candidates, and I appreciate that. It's a very well-needed thing in Bedford County. Like you said, my name is Michael Gregory. I've lived in District 2 for almost all my life, well over 40 years. About 6 months, I moved away into Shelbyville, but still was very, very close to District 2. My wife, Amy, and I have 3 children. We've been married for over 20 years. Our children are students at Cascade Middle and Cascade Elementary. They're in that cluster out there of those schools. I graduated from there in 2007, a product of the local school system. Left there, went to Middle Tennessee State, graduated with a degree in agriculture or animal science with a minor in history. From there, I did a couple little things until I got back into my career path and started here in 2004 as the animal control director, the first animal control director for Bedford County. Did that until 2011. Rutherford County didn't come calling. It was just something that kind of fell in my lap, and it was a good move for my family, and I've been there ever since. So I just celebrated my 15th year with Rutherford County as their animal control director. We've been involved in the community for quite some time. We attend church at Trinity Baptist up here on Horse Mountain Road. Been there for almost 20 years. Teach Sunday school class there, so try to be involved there with our folks, our church members, and those type things.
Yeah, and just to attest to what he said, I've been following your path a long time.
Yes, we've known each other off and on for a little while.
Yeah.
So a little bit of a reunion today. I failed to tell you my political affiliation. I am running as an independent. The main reason is just because for county politics, there's really doesn't have to be that divide per se between Republican and Democrat. I tend to lean. I'd like to say that I'm a conservative, fiscal conservative. So I think you can kind of tell which way I probably lean more than the other. But for county politics, that really doesn't matter. It's about representing the people to the best of your ability. And for the county government, they're the folks that have the most say in the day-to-day lives of individuals. You start getting to that federal level and state level, and everything's happening. It's kind of just a big ball of wax. But the things that we would do here as a county, as a city, affect individual lives more than any of those other places are going to. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to run. Okay.
All right. So getting to that point, what led you to that final decision? Why is it the right time for Michael Gregory to run for office right now at this time?
It's a tough decision. There was a lot of things that went into that. The Bible talks about talking to a multitude of counselors, and I did that. I wanted to make sure that my family was on board. I wanted to make sure that my job was on board. Some of the folks that are under me, I wanted to make sure it worked, that they understood what I was looking at, making sure they were on board. And it came down to kind of this. There's a book called Integrity by Dr. Henry Cloud, and he talks about one of the things with integrity. It talks about a character, and it talks about leaving a wake. And just like a boat leaves a wake as it goes through the water, and that ripples out from there, it was like, I need to leave a wake here for my county. I need to leave a wake for those 3 kids that I've got at home. I'm concerned about some things on with the county and kind of the direction in which we're going. And I want to make sure that I give them the same Bedford County, or as close to it as I can, as what I had growing up as well. So that was kind of what led my decision was those 3 babies that I have at the house.
Okay. So this kind of ties into probably what you said, but the third question that I'll ask you is, what do you see as our greatest challenges in Bedford County today? And then looking into the future, what are our greatest challenges?
Well, I think some of the greatest challenges that you're going to see overall for the county are, of course, going to be our infrastructure. It's going to be our growth. It's going to be making sure that we are, again, fiscally conservative when it comes to our taxes and those type things. But I think when you hone that in and you look specifically at District 2, which is the area that I'm most concerned about, obviously, because that's why I'm running. When you look at District 2, obviously we've got a lot of infrastructure problems there. A lot of the folks that I've spoken to when I was going around getting my petition signed, the number one thing that came up was by far roads. They want to see roads. Roads obviously cost a lot of money. So figuring out some ways there that we can do, and it's not the highway department's fault by any means. There's just not enough money going around. So we've got to look and we've got to figure out how do we do some things to try to get some more money for those roads and infrastructures. The other thing, though, that particularly is important for District 2 in my mind, while the whole county is growing, if you look at District 2, it's a very diverse district.
Yeah.
It runs basically almost from Walmart to the county line. It runs over to halfway to Bell Buckle down 82, and then it runs almost to Longview Road.
Right.
So and then out 41, it runs the subdivision right past Jostens. It picks up that. So you're talking about city subdivisions, county subdivisions, agricultural area, kind of more area that used to be farmland that's now subdivisions and those type things. So that area out there, in my mind, looking at it, I can't see another district out of the 9 that's more diverse than that district.
Yeah.
And while growth is affecting everywhere, I think it's affecting that district even more. And the reason I say that is, of course, everything wants to push out that 231 corridor going towards Murfreesboro because that's where the traffic count is. But you look and you go, okay, just how has that area changed over the last even 10 years? You know, we've had the industrial park put out there with some buildings. You've had TCAT that's gone out there. You've got MTSU now that's going out there. You got the distillery. You've got the go-kart place. I think it's Music City
Kartplex.
Yeah. Supposedly you have Tennessee Downs coming, some things like that. So that area is kind of just exploding. So what used to be kind of that quaint country farmland now is turning into more industrial, more commercial, those type things. So it's really changed the landscape of District 2, and that comes with a lot of different challenges. For instance, where I live, you know, you can look across the trees now and you can see a 9-story building from my parents' front porch and almost from my house when the trees are gone. We've also got the new duck stand in the industrial park area that's moved in. And I don't know what else is scheduled there or coming or if it's full or what's going on there. I've gotten some public records requests back to study to look to see where that property is going and those type things. But it's changed that area a lot. So areas that used to be kind of that quiet, quaint countryside in District 2 is not that anymore.
Right.
Then you start going, you know, farmland. I drove down a road that I hadn't been down it a little bit, but it'd been about maybe a year. Drove down and this huge farm had sold and it was just house. And it's how do we sustain those things, provide the services that we need with the revenue that we get off of those, and how does that affect our future? So that was, in my mind, that's the biggest thing we've got to figure out, especially for District 2, is what does all that ball of wax look like?
Right.
Because right now it's like we've kind of piecemealed some things. What's it look like in the end? What's it going to look like in another 10 years?
Right.
What's it going to look like in another 20? You know, I may not be here another 20. I hope I am. Hope for my children I am.
Right.
But when they're, you know, when they're in their mid to late 20s and 30s, what does it look like for them? What does it look like when they start having children? Do they want to continue to stay here? Are there reasons for them to stay here? You know, we have the industrial part, but we've really not created a lot of jobs per se for Bedford County folks. What are we doing to keep our folks here?
Yeah.
Another thing, you know, we have to think about, and this is odd kind of say with county politics, but you have to think about AI as well.
Yeah.
What does that look like for our industry? What are we going to do to make it to where our folks can stay here, to have jobs with those things that are coming down the pike faster than I like to see, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Question number 4. What is your favorite thing about Bedford County?
I think the easiest way for me to sum this up is, David, if you go off on vacation, it's nice to go somewhere.
Yeah.
But you know what? When it gets time to be done, it sure is nice to come home. There's nothing like coming home. Me working in Murfreesboro every day when I get in that truck, it's nice to know that I'm coming home.
Right.
So Bedford County, the favorite thing to me is its home and its family.
Yeah.
And not just my personal family, blood family, but the folks that I know in the community, the folks that we go to church with, those type things. It's home to me.
Right.
It's always been home. I've had opportunities to move places. I could go other places and do things. I don't want to. My family's here and this is home. That's what I love about this community.
Okay. If you had a magic wand and you could wave it and change something about Bedford County, what would that change be?
I would liken it to what Fred Thompson said. He said, why do they call it common sense when it's so uncommon?
Yeah.
And that would be the thing that I think that I would like to see us do more of, kind of thinking beyond the end of our nose, thinking again out towards the future of where we are. So we don't get caught later going, oh, I wish we had done it this way or that way. Putting the process in, analyzing things on the front end. I'm a very data-driven person. I'm very analytical and I'm a very numbers person. So I really look and dig into those things. Sometimes it looks weird for that process because I look at things maybe a little bit differently than other folks do. And sometimes it's a very weird way of doing such.
Yeah.
But for me, the way that I process things is I look at all different angles. So I'd like to wave that magic wand and make sure that we're looking at things from all those different angles before we make a decision.
Right.
And I'll liken it this way. Part of my job with animal control is obviously we're prosecuting folks for animal violations, cruelties, going to court and those type things. When I build a case, my case is always built from my perspective, but I also build my case making sure that I'm looking at it from a defense attorney's perspective.
Right.
That way I can go ahead and start taking care of those pitfalls before I ever get on the stand before a judge and before that attorney.
Right.
I think that's the same way that we need to make decisions as a county. We need to start looking at things, not just from where we are now, but looking at all aspects, looking at what all the collateral damage is and those type things before we make decisions. So common sense is what I see as the biggest change that we need to make.
Yeah. Okay. We're at the point of this conversation now to where you got the mic. You can just talk about any topic you'd like to. What would you like to say to District 2 and the overall county population?
Well, first of all, for District 2, I'd like to ask for your consideration and your vote. I know many people don't know me, so my contact information is on Facebook. It also has a phone number on there that you can reach out to me. Please do understand. Obviously, I work a job that can have a conflict of interest. So please leave me a message or shoot me a Facebook message, and I will get back to you after business hours. The biggest thing again that I said was I look at things differently, and sometimes that is looked at odd. But I want to give you a couple of examples if I may.
Sure.
So, in the Bible, it talks about in Luke, it talks about you don't build something before you know the cost.
Yeah.
And, if you go back and you dig into that, it's truly talking about the cost of following Jesus,
Right.
not literally a physical building.
Right.
But if we take and we think about those things, if you look at things, this is something that just some common sense. We don't go borrow money until we know what projects are going to cost.
Yeah.
We borrowed a lot of money, and those were projects that most of them were needed, I think. But if you start breaking it down and looking at it, so we borrowed money for a project that we didn't know how much it was going to cost. So then we had to scale back what that project was to try to make it fit or come back and ask for additional money. But the questions are, did we look at initially going, did we actually need those projects to start with?
Right.
And that's the different way that I look at things. So you start looking at the $6.5 million for the juvenile detention facility. Is the facility that we currently have in disrepair, in need of replacement or some type of solution? By far. I would not want my family or my children to be down there if God forbid that ever happened. But we borrowed money for something when we had a potential solution up the road that could have been a potential better solution without having to spend that $6.5 million. And that solution is Rutherford County. Yes, it would cost us $200 a day to house those juveniles there. But if we take and we look at just the Bedford County population, how many years would it take for us to pay back that building at $200 a night? And I did the math, and from the math that I came up with, it's 26 years just for the break-even cost of the building. Now, in 26 years, what's the new juvenile facility going to look like? We know how those buildings age. They're used 365 days a year. So thinking about a different solution there. Now, let's pose this question. This is me again thinking differently. This is what I want the voters to see, that this is what they would get when I would look at solutions and speak to them on that. I said the folks in our district, number one concern is roads right now. How many miles could we pave for $6.5 million throughout the county? So it's just looking and going, okay, what's the best bucket to put that money in the way of doing things? Right. So again, I know that's not necessarily popular. What you see is what you get with me. I'm not gonna blow smoke at you. I'm gonna give you the truth, but I'm also gonna pick your brain when you come to me with ideas and things and go, hey, does this make the most sense if we look at it over here in a little bit different light and a little bit different perspective? So again, I hope that's something that the voters want. From the ones that I've spoken to, they looked at me and they said, that makes sense thinking that particular way. Again, that's not going to get you a whole lot of, sometimes it doesn't bring you a whole lot of friends, but we're not here in this to make friends. We're here to represent the county, do what's best, make sure we're spending tax money appropriately and in the best manner possible. And that's what you're going to get if you vote for me.
All right. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
That was interesting. I think common sense is at a shortage and has been for a long time. So thanks for sharing that. Thanks everybody for watching this edition of Meet the Candidates. We'll be back again soon with another edition. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.